He stood tall in the courtroom, though his shirt sleeves were worn, his shoes scuffed, and his eyes carried the weight of wars fought overseas and battles endured at home. A single dad, a veteran, and now a father fighting for the custody of his only daughter, he looked out of place among the polished lawyers and clerks. The people sitting in the gallery whispered, glancing at him with quiet pity, some even smirking. But he stood his ground. He had faced worse storms before. He was prepared. The judge, a man with a reputation for being harsh and impatient, leaned back in his chair and adjusted his glasses. "Mr. Carter," he said with a tone dripping with sarcasm, "are you seriously here to represent yourself? This isn't some TV drama. You're not a lawyer. You're a veteran who probably thinks shouting orders will work in my courtroom." Laughter rippled through the audience, and even the opposing attorney smirked, confident this would be an easy win. The single dad didn't flinch. He simply looked at the judge and replied in a calm, steady voice, "Your Honor, I may not wear a suit that costs a month's paycheck, but I've studied the law every night for 2 years because my daughter deserves a father who won't give up on her. I won't hire someone to tell my story when I can stand and fight myself." His words silenced the room for a moment, but the judge rolled his eyes, clearly unimpressed. As the opposing attorney launched into a polished speech filled with legal jargon, the veteran scribbled notes quietly, his mind sharp, his focus unshakable. He remembered the long nights after his daughter had gone to bed, nights where he pored over case studies, old rulings, and dusty law books he borrowed from the library. He didn't have the luxury of fancy education, but he had discipline, determination, and a reason to fight stronger than any paycheck, his little girl. When it was his turn, he walked to the podium. His voice was steady, but there was fire behind every word. "Your Honor, this case isn't about me or the opposing counsel. It's about what's best for my daughter. I've served my country, I've sacrificed everything, and I know what it means to protect what you love. My daughter deserves stability, love, and a father who won't disappear when things get hard." At first, the judge interrupted him, mocking his phrasing, scoffing at his lack of courtroom polish. But then the veteran pulled out documents, meticulously prepared evidence, carefully highlighted precedents, and even obscure legal references that left the opposing counsel flipping pages in panic. The gallery leaned forward, realizing this wasn't just some desperate dad stumbling through. He was dismantling the case against him piece by piece. Every fact he presented hit like a hammer, every precedent like a shield. The judge's mocking expression began to shift. What had started as condescension turned into something else, surprise. He wasn't facing a clueless father, he was facing someone who had transformed his pain into knowledge, someone who had sharpened his suffering into strategy. The courtroom, once filled with snickers, was now dead silent, hanging onto every word. But then came the hardest moment. The opposing attorney brought up the veteran's PTSD, implying that he was unstable, unfit to raise a child. A cruel twist that cut deep. The gallery murmured again, some nodding as if they agreed. The judge tilted his head, as though considering it. The veteran's hands trembled slightly, but he didn't back down. He looked directly at the judge and spoke from the deepest place in his heart. "Yes, I have scars. Some are on the outside, some are here." He tapped his chest. "But those scars don't make me less of a father. They make me stronger. They remind me every day to fight harder, to never give up. And my daughter, she's my reason for standing here today. I'm not ashamed of what I carry. I'm proud of it, because it means I survived to be here for her." The words rang through the room like a bell, raw and undeniable. Even the judge's hardened face softened for a moment. The opposing lawyer stumbled, unable to recover from the blow of such truth. The veteran went on to present a final argument so precise, so well structured, that even the court reporter paused for a moment, stunned by the eloquence. By the time he finished, there was no laughter, no mockery, only respect. The judge, who had mocked him at the start, now leaned forward with a different tone. "Mr. Carter, I underestimated you. This court finds in your favor." His gavel struck, and the veteran's knees nearly buckled with relief. His daughter, sitting quietly in the back, ran to him, tears streaming down her face as she whispered, "Daddy, you did it." The gallery erupted, some in applause, some in tears. And as he held his little girl in his arms, the veteran finally allowed himself a smile. He hadn't just won custody. He had proven that heart, discipline, and love could overcome arrogance, mockery, and doubt. And now, to everyone watching this story unfold, remember this: never underestimate the quiet fighter. Never mock the one who stands alone, because sometimes the one you laugh at is the one who's been preparing in silence all along. If this story touched you, if it made you believe in the strength of ordinary heroes, then make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it, because somewhere out there, another father, another mother, another fighter needs to hear that giving up is not an option. Stay inspired, and keep fighting for what matters.